The inspiration for today's painting comes from the garden and the grocery store. What if I told you that I'm going to teach you how to paint this beautiful bouquet of roses in a tin can vase using a cabbage as your paintbrush? We're going to work on 2 paintings at a time. My paper's 9 by 12 inches, taped to foam core board. You can use any kind of board, plywood, whatever you have on hand. Now here's the hard part. Plan ahead, because before you begin, you're going to need to spray your paints with water. It really helps boost the color. Close the lid so the water doesn't evaporate, and then you can turn your attention to getting other things prepared for painting, including your paper and your vegetables and your cardboard box. Cut off the core end so that you're left with this, and the rest of your head of cabbage you can use for dinner. I'm going to cut just along this line so that this flap comes off the box. I'm cutting straight down into a cutting board. I made a nice cut, and now I'm just going to tear it away like that. So I'm going to draw part of a circle right up here. I'm going to put an X on the circle. Then I'm going to take my box cutter, which is really sharp, as I said before, and I'm very carefully going to just partially cut around that circular curved line. I'm going to peel away the paper. Keep your thumb there, pull, to reveal the corrugated cardboard underneath. But notice this circle is still there. Then you want to go in with your fingernails and you want to get as much of that extra paper out of there as you can. So we're going to begin with the tin can, the vase for our flowers. Because tin reflects so many different colors, we're going to put different colors right on the ridges. I'm starting with yellow. I'm going to put a little yellow on some of the ridges, then I'm going to move over to a little bit of orange. Now I'm going to put my finger on the X. I'm going to place it down, not quite in the middle of the paper, but over to the side just a little bit. And I'm going to press firmly. And then I'm going to come up over here and I'm going to do the same thing. I think I might put it off center just to the other side. And press really firmly on the second one because there's less paint. And lift, and now we're ready to do the next layer. And again, I'm just brushing the red paint, the red watercolor. I'm not painting on this circle. I'm just brushing the red watercolor here and there. And I think this time I'll start here. Now you have to make sure the X goes in the same place each time. You place it directly over, and you press firmly. And now we're going to bring it over here, and we're going to do the same thing right over where we did the last time. generous with the blue. Again, I'm avoiding the area where the X is, but I'm going to put lots of blue everywhere else. I'm going to take this clean corner. I'm going to put it down on top of making sure my X is in the same position. I'm going to press firmly and lift. I've got some clean water in a container. I'm going to swish the brush, tap twice, and while this paint is still wet, I'm going to come over and I'm going to use just plain water, and I'm going to make a line of water down one side of the can by using just plain water to connect these ridges. We're making a line, and this will give us the illusion of the tin. I have a sheet of practice paper, and we're going to try our Brussels sprouts, our cabbages, and our lettuce, and see what kind of a print they make. Now, we're ready to start painting the roses once your tin can is perfectly dry. I'm going to reach over and get my big cabbage. It's already got some paint on it from when we were practicing earlier, but that's not a problem. I'm going to take a big brush this time, dip it in the water, tap twice, and I'm going to come and get a lot of yellow on here. And I'm going to put the yellow right in the middle of the cabbage, and then I'm going to kind of pull it out. In watercolor, we like to start with the lightest colors and paint to the darker colors. So I'm starting with yellow, orange, and red. Looks like the orange wants to travel in there a little bit. And finally, I'll put some red around the very edge. Now we're going to get the smallest brush that came with the set of watercolors, and we're going to come over to the rose, and very carefully with just plain water, we're going to convince some of these petals to meet so that we close the circle of the rose. And we don't have to close everywhere, we just want to do a little bit of this. I'm just using plain water for this. I'm not using any color because the color is already on there. And you have to do this while your paint is still wet. So after you lift the cabbage, you want to get right to it. Now, my yellow didn't show up very well there, so I'm actually going to come in and get some yellow and drop it in. Next, I'm going to take one of my Brussels sprouts and use the small brush that came with the set of watercolors. I'm going to put yellow in the middle and orange around the edge. Get all the edges. That's a little soupy, so I'm going to get my paper towel and pick up some of that extra. Okay. Then I'm going to come over to the other side of the vase, and down about here, I'm going to press firmly and lift. And then, while it's still wet, using just water and the small brush that came with the set of watercolors, I'm going to close the circle. Like that. Now that the flowers are dry, it's time to add some leaves. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to work some green onto the lid of my paint container. And then here's a little trick I use whenever I'm painting leaves. I always add a little bit of orange to the green. I come back in and get some more green. That looks about right. I cut that romaine lettuce core in half, and I'm going to pick the smaller half. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to lightly touch in some green. I'm going to snuggle up next to a flower and quickly put it in. I don't want to press long or hard because I just want the suggestion of green. I'll stick a little green in there. Here's a nice little spot for some green. And notice there was enough on the lettuce that I didn't have to go back and paint a whole bunch of extra. Let's see if this works over here. Yeah, that's about right. All right. Let's try a little more. Put a little in there. A little up here. A little up in that corner. And that might just be enough. Now I'm going to do it on my other one. Get some clean water and your biggest brush and come in and get some yellow. And then very carefully, you're going to lay in a little sunshine, which is what I call the color yellow. I'm being careful not to go into the green, which is still wet. I just want to create a little atmosphere, a little background, give it a sunny glow. The garden can give us a lot of inspiration for art. We learned a few things today, including how to get the most color out of a simple set of watercolors by soaking it with water 2 or 3 hours ahead of time. We also learned that you don't always have to paint with a paintbrush. We learned a great technique for making beautiful roses using cabbages, lettuce, and Brussels sprouts.